Ba-ba-da-ba-ba. And welcome back, BG Lovelies. This is Neisha M, your geek mom, also known as Neisha T Mulchan, and this is Diversely Geek, coming to you with my geek universe. And today our featured guest is Curtis Mckinnon. What? Did I do a good enough wrestling shout out? I got it in there, Curtis.
Yes, you did. That was fantastic. I
gotcha.
I appreciate the love.
You go.
No, I was just saying I appreciate the love. That was like, all the hype behind it. Now I have to make sure I deliver, that the introduction matches the content of the show. So, no pressure.
There are so few people who really know the passion of the original wrestling world. So that's gonna come up today. Just letting you know.
Man, so, you know what? I didn't even talk about that in my bio, but absolutely.
I surprise people like that. That's me. So we are Diversely Geek after all. I mean, hey.
Of course, absolutely.
So everyone knows this is my Geek Universe, where it's our featured one-to-one interviews with fans, vendors, entertainers, creators, just beautiful beings out there who are embracing their inner geek, expressing their inner geek in their everyday life, and working towards transforming that fandom passion into positive action. And I can tell you that having these conversations with these lovelies just make my life so much better, because they help me to grow. So I'm always so excited to have someone new on the show. Yay!
So, yes, thank you for having me again.
As I said to you, and I know it threw you for a loop, and that's okay, because that's always good. We have to know there's a surprise around the corner, I'd like you to give me your bio. Tell me a little bit about who you are, what you love, and then we'll go from there.
Wow, what I love. Well, that's a loaded question. That's a loaded question also, but I'll do my best to give to give the bio. Well, I'm the alternate host of the longest running open mic in Orlando, which is called Diverse Word. It's been around for oh my goodness, I think we're going on 13, and we'll be 13 in September. So there's that, and I also just closed out the 29th annual African American Read-In at the Orange County Library this past Sunday. They had a couple of that, there was even wrestlers I didn't even know that would be there, but they're working at the NXT. They're not on TV as of yet, but that with there were news anchors on the panel, and then also like the Orange County mayor was there too, so that was really cool. But I'm also a 2-time Fringe Festival Poetry Slam winner, and I've won like several awards in the city in regards to like spoken word and like lyricism and things like that. And I love hip hop, anime, and comic inspired heroes. My favorite heroes are Goku, Batman, Captain America, Black Panther, and more recently Daredevil because of the Netflix series. I just really love the story that they told with that character. And you can follow me on my artist pages on Instagram and Facebook. On Facebook, it's Mr. Mckinnon. That's Mister McKinnon. And on Instagram, it's just Mr.McKinnon, my last name, McKinnon. And if you want to follow me on my personal Instagram, which is just other things besides my artistry, you can follow me at Kurt Caballero. That's Spanish for gentleman, so I'll just spell it real quick. It's CurtCaballero. And that's my intro. That's my bio.
I am gonna have to ask you about Kurt Caballero. That's so cute. Okay, and I love it. It made me. I'm sorry, but it made me think of Disney. The Three Caballeros. I just had to do it.
Okay.
Yes, Diversely Geek. That's us.
Yeah.
So I also referenced at the very beginning a common love for wrestling. which again, you just talked about a few seconds ago. So that was pretty exciting for me to hear about. So I just kind of wanted to see if you could share a little bit about your journey towards like really identifying these passions, especially the passion that you have for the spoken word. That is not, I mean, it's beautiful, and I actually support it, and I'm part of that world. But how did you get to the place where you were transforming that into something you did as part of your daily life?
Wow. Well, that's a loaded question as well. So when we're talking about passions, I guess we'll break those off because wrestling was one, a big part of my life. It's a part of my life now still, but it was a huge part of my life from, my adolescence into adulthood. But as far as, honing in on spoken word and poetry and just like the arts and speaking in hip hop, those are all intertwined. So for me, I first fell in love with hip hop when I when I saw the music video for Changes with Tupac that came out in '96, and I've always been around hip hop. Like I was born in New York, and I lived in New York till I was about 10. And I just remember seeing the video, and then there's a shot in the video where they have these different video clips of Tupac, and then they pan out, and then like they all morph into like his face. And I was just like, I just felt like I was mesmerized at that time, but like in a good way. And like the message of the song always spoke like directly to my heart. And so for me, like that, I identify with that, with me falling in love with hip hop at that time, which I was like 8 years old. Now, when it comes to actually creating and using it as a passion and what I do with my life, that came from when I watched this documentary called Fade to Black. It was a Jay-Z documentary. That was in like 2004. And that's at the time that Jay-Z was going to retire. And then he went on this, he sold out Madison Square Garden in 2 minutes. And
Ooh.
I remember there's a spot in the documentary where literally like they just panned the entire arena. And for me at that moment, I just thought to myself, I said, man, there's probably people on one side of the arena that can't stand somebody else on the other side of the arena, but they're all there for one thing, like to see one person. And I was like, that's what I want to do. My thing was I wanted to bring people together. And that's from that moment is when I said, that's what I wanted to do in my life. And I started, I was writing a little bit before then because that's like as a hobby here or there, but that's when I started to take it seriously. And I started writing in high school. And then, from there, I don't want to say the rest is history, but from there, my brother, he used to freestyle. I was never good at freestyling. And I was just better at writing. And I would just always write from a place of like my personal experiences and things that impacted my life. And just, finding myself in those lyrics because I always wanted to share my love of hip hop with like my family and maybe like my mom as well. But we grew up Christian, and I still am Christian. And of course, like, cursing was out of the window, like at that time, as far as like being young. So I was like, man, I really like this love for hip hop doesn't change because it has the bad words, you know what I'm saying? But I had to write in a way to where it was clean. So for me, like I could still share my love with the people that I love. And that's how that started. And while Sean was doing this freestyle and stuff like that, he moved back to New York, and then he ended up coming back, and then he just got more into spoken word. He can tell his own story at one day when you have him on. But pretty much he started Diverse Word in September of 2006, and he was just consistent with it every Tuesday, and then eventually I became the alternate host. And then people identify it with us because I do more of the social media aspect of it in regards to creating the event invites and things like that. But I mean, consistently, it's just been word of mouth, and then people have just constantly loved being there. And it's just a eclectic group of people that really just have a safe space to share their art. And it's not like there's no sense of intimidation or like you have to be this super showman. It's just literally you go in there and it being a therapeutic experience. And you just sharing, the part of you that you may not feel comfortable sharing anywhere else, you know what I mean? But people find themselves a lot when they or they do perform on stage, and then it's like, you may not necessarily do it for an audience or for like an applause per se, but it's a different feeling when somebody applauds your work, because it's like it's almost like a form of acceptance. Like they applaud who you are because you created that thing, and they get to relate to that. And for me, when I started writing, to bring it full circle, when I started writing, I knew that I had feelings that were different from a lot of my peers. So for me, I wanted to be able to connect with other people that felt like how I did. I just wasn't in reach of them, or they weren't in my neighborhood per se. So when I started writing, it was more so, again, to bring people together, to bring me to people that felt like how I did. And then again, bringing it back with the whole Jay-Z Fade to Black. I'm like, if he can do that, then that means that I can do that as well. So, yeah.
Whoa. Okay. I was like trying to write notes the entire time you're talking. So that
was a super long answer, so I don't blame you.
No, it was amazing. Simply because I really, really, truly, I mean, we've known each other a while, and we've actually never been able to have this conversation. It's so crazy because you guys are so busy. I love a diverse word. I do come out randomly, like once a month I'll come out and I'll sit. And to this day, I have yet to read any of my pieces. And I'm actually a writer. I'm a creative writer. It's one of my majors, although I'm in medicine. So, I don't know, one day.
You're healing in other ways. You're healing in multiple ways, I should say.
Yep. I think that it's pretty incredible that you stood in the arena and you felt the vastness of the universe coming together in this familial reunion type of environment where you felt a sense of the stripping away of what our labels are, because in that moment everyone was like totally in one purpose, right? When you were in the arena for the wrestling.
So with wrestling, I'm sorry, I wanted to make sure that I understood clearly. So
when I watched that sensation that you had, that feeling you had, that just completely motivated you and inspired you.
Yeah.
Everyone
I'm sorry, continue.
No, you got it. Go ahead, honey.
No, I was just gonna say that I wasn't even in the arena when I had that feeling. I was watching the documentary, and then they panned the audience, and from my living room, I could feel that. I was just like, wow. I was just in awe that one person. I mean, like, he wasn't the first person to ever do a concert, but just the fact that one person could command an audience like that, and then to be able to bring people from all walks of life together, I always thought that was a powerful thing and a powerful tool. And then it's just whether you choose to use your powers for good or evil. And I'm like, man, if you can bring people together from all walks of life, you can do a lot of good when you have everybody's ear. So that's what really captivated me and said, man, I want to be able to do something good with the words that I have, or the thoughts and feelings that I have, if that can bring people together and have people live amongst each other and be more at peace with one another, then I mean that's a win-win for me. So yeah.
Wow. It's just completely incredible. Because sometimes I get lost in the moments of what everyone's saying to me here, because all I can think is, that's like the epitome of everything that we believe in. The fact that we can embrace who we are, embrace the inner geek. And you know what I mean by that, right? Because everyone asks, like, okay, I understand I'm a geek and I'm good and I'm okay with relating it and sharing it to the world. But in our cultures and our social environments, sometimes we just can't do that because maybe the family or the people we go to school with or etc. They don't understand why something means so much to us. And for instance, with Tupac, it was I'm from New York, by the way. I grew up in New York. So, yeah, all the way through college. I went all the way through. So I'm a Queens girl. Hey, go Mets. Come on.
I'm a Brooklyn boy.
Oh, goodness. I went to Brooklyn College for a little bit. So, yeah, way back in the day. So, I mean, I'm looking at the New York culture, which we both grew up in, and I think, how old are you, if you don't mind?
You're fine. I'm 30.
Oh, yeah. I had this feeling. Okay, so because I'm 53, so we look at we've been looking at the cultural influence that has to do with the generation that we were growing up in. And I grew up in a very open melting pot, but the microcosm of the area of New York you grew up in also had everything to do with whether or not you felt accepted or whether or not you felt like you could just embrace those geeky things. So,
Yeah.
right, you know what I'm saying, right? You totally get what I'm saying here. So how did you
Yeah.
feel in the culture of the family, and like this is, the culture of the area that you grew up in? Did you feel like you like expressing that part of your life or those passions that people were ready to accept that? Did you feel supported, or was that a journey?
Well, definitely a journey, but more so I'm glad that you asked this question and it ended up in this way, because this is where it more so would tie into the wrestling aspect of it as far as like the geeky side, because I moved to Florida when I was 10, and I didn't start watching wrestling until like about that time, maybe like going into 11. And it's funny because even as kids, like they can accept comics as like that's real to them, I guess, or like comic based shows.
Mm-hmm.
So you could talk about like Dragon Ball Z, and that was cool, and this and that. But when it came to wrestling, there was always like this polarizing factor when it came to wrestling, because it's like it would be entertaining and these guys would be larger than life, but then some people would be like, wow, this, that, and the third, and they just be hyping it up, and then you have another demographic that it's like, well, that's fake, right? And it's just like it's like you can suspend your belief for fantasy for these characters, but you couldn't do it for wrestling. And as a kid, it's just kind of like, I don't know. A lot of times it was discouraging. Like even in my going into my adulthood, it was kind of like I didn't really want to. I got to a point where I didn't want to talk about it because I didn't want to continue to hear about how something that I love was like fake or not. It was, to me at that point, it wasn't about it being fake or predetermined. It was about it entertaining me. Like I was still entertained, just like how you get entertained from Game of Thrones or you get entertained from this other show. Like that guy didn't really get shot. Like he's gonna go home. They're gonna wipe the makeup off, and he's gonna go home and live his life. The point is you being entertained by the product that you're seeing from the show that you're seeing. So I definitely had to defend, my love for it. But then it got to a point where I was like, I'm just not going to proactively speak about it. I'm just gonna love it and then speak about it with the people that I can share it with that do love it, and then I keep it to myself. Until like later on, I grew into more of my manhood and was just like, I don't care what anybody thinks, and that's when social media was like started was just more prevalent, and you're still finding your way, and people have their opinions there too, so it's just like kind of reliving that whole like childhood thing again, like it's not real, right? It's like I don't come to you like when you're talking about something that you love and be like, like that guy didn't really die, right? Like he didn't really do that martial arts kick, right? Like I don't do that to you,
Exactly.
so why? You know what I mean?
So why do
so like,
why is it so important, do you think, that for people from your experience to deflate your bubble, to pop your bubble or deflate your bubble?
hilarious. I don't know. I think that's a good question. And I don't want to default to like, people being miserable. So they like want you to join their misery. But I think that, because that could be one aspect of it, right? I mean, but then the other aspect of it, I feel like is just because they've like quote unquote grown up, like they let the child inside of them die. So they're like, you got to let yours die too. Like, like you have to come to
You're right.
You have to come to reality with the rest of us. But go ahead. Sorry.
You got it. And I was kind of hoping you'd go in that direction, because here's because I'm a family practice provider, but I'm also neuro and psychiatry, right? So one of the things that's how we even created Diversity Geek. It actually came out of my same exact inspiration to change the world and to make a difference and get people to understand that if we just love who we are and embrace
Mm-hmm.
it, regardless of what the world is saying to you. Believe it or not, you're going to be that ripple in the lake that
Mm-hmm.
will affect pure change, because sometimes all someone else needs is permission to just be who they are, instead of,
Mm-hmm.
so what a child will do is, hey, stop crying, it's not that bad, stop crying, you know real men don't cry, things like that. They're told, hey, you don't believe in that because it's not real. So we become indoctrinated, right? Someone tells us to stop, to suspend our belief, and so the suspense of belief becomes part of what we consider to be the natural or the norm. But in
Right.
all reality, we have to have our beliefs completely flying. We need to just let them be, because they will then change who we are as people, and even for the better. So, you hit it right on the head. Look at you. You perfectly well got it. That was so good. You're right, though. So in that circumstance, at what age did you start to really feel empowered to just believe and love something because you loved it?
Um, Different phases. I mean, I think wrestling was the hardest thing because it's just the most criticized of any of the things that I love. Like hip hop is universal now at this point. It's pop culture. Comics have become pop culture. Uh, it's funny. Like I think the only thing that I love that has almost feel like it's been dated, like it had a time when it was acceptable, would be wrestling. But I mean, like now you look at like the MCU, and it's like since 2008. I mean, comic movies have been happening for the longest, like 60s, 70s or whatnot. But as far as it being accepted, like this is the time where it's been the most universally accepted, and I don't think that part is gonna go away. You have like the shows, you have the movies, you have like the two juggernauts that are constantly competing with each other now, and it's so much in your face. Like it's almost like you're the nerd if you don't know like what those things are. Like how do you not know? Well, like the roles have been reversed in that aspect. So as far as like the age, I mean, I guess if I have to date it to, if I have to attribute it to wrestling, somewhere probably even like in my mid 20s, or like my early mid 20s, maybe 24, 25. You get to a
Wow.
point in life. I know
Okay.
it's weird, right? That I was that old, or that old at that time. But I think you get to a point where that just became in me being comfortable in my own skin as well. Because again, when you're younger, or just if you just in being who you are, you get shunned for like certain things that you take a liking to. So if that person doesn't think that that's acceptable, then they're gonna shun you for it or clown you for it. Um, but you get to a point where you just like I'm tired of pretending to be something that I'm not. I'm tired of pretending or like to not like this thing. Like this is who I am. Like I'm that's not gonna change. And when you get to the point where you just straight up don't care, and you choose you over them, then that's when life changes for you. That when you can walk around with the ultimate confidence and say like it doesn't matter like how you feel or what you think about this thing. This is who I am. This is what I love. That doesn't I'm not different as a person because I love this thing. It's just this is an aspect of my life. This is a part of what makes me who I am. That doesn't change how I'm going to treat anyone or anything like that. So I think once you just identify within yourself that you're just comfortable and confident with who you are, that's when things change for you, and that's when you attract the right people, around you. Because when you keep trying to transform for someone else, you're never going to end up in the right company because you're trying to mold yourself to what people want you to be, and you'll
Mhm.
never find yourself, and you'll never find your place. You have to be who you are, and then the right people will come. So, yeah.
Wow. So this is so good. Oh my God, this is incredible. You're doing it's just you're answering everything, so I love it. I I think that
But,
it's really interesting. My son is 29, or going to be 29 in a few weeks. So he's
mm,
your age. you know, and his passions were pretty much very similar, I would say, to just about everything. I knew growing up in New York, you remember, I grew up in, well, you wouldn't realize this, but I grew up in New York until I left there when I was 25, 26, when hip hop was just starting. I am from the age of hip hop, from the very, very beginning of it. So it was the same. The denigration and the pressure and the and the what is that? I want to say it in a kind way. The goodness, the social lines that were drawn for people who liked hip hop.
Right.
Willing to follow spoken word. Huh?
I said, I was just saying, I could only imagine, like, during that time.
So going to school, being a West Indian Indian girl, already of a race that's very different from everyone else, being a comic book reader, because I took my comic books to school. you know, I was a theater nerd as well, musical theater nerd, and then at the same time being very much into music, huge music person for me. And then I liked hip hop. I was very interested in it. I wanted to understand more of it. I love the word use. I love the phraseology. I loved everything about it. It made sense to me. But then when hip hop and beatboxing and street dancing came together, the world just blew up. So, and you know what I'm saying? But you're right. People, there was judgments. So it's interesting. You're dealing with judgments, of course, across the spectrum of social mores and social acculturations, basically. So did your family put the same pressures on you, or were they, hey, just let Curtis be who he is, and we're there to support that, or that's cool? Did other people like wrestling? Did other people like DC? Did other people like hip hop?
Yeah. So, I mean, my dad was always, because he still is in New York, and when I was growing up, he always made sure to check in to see what my interests were. So he took interest in what I took interest in. It's not like he went out of his way to really seek it per se, but he did dabble in it whenever I told him, what I was interested in. And then he would actually take the time to, if he saw something about that person that I kept referencing or something like that, he would actually send me a clip or like a website link or something like that. And it would be old news to me, but as a man now, I can see obviously that was his way of connecting. Even though he's late, the point is he's showing that he takes interest in the things that I take interest in, which is what more could you ask for in regards to in regards to a parent? On top of him, an amazing provider. At home here in Florida, I mean, my brother watched wrestling with me sometimes, but not really. He wasn't really into it. My sister wasn't really into it. It's I was the only one in my house. My mom didn't really necessarily encourage it. She would be like, "Oh, this is too violent." And then her her boyfriend at that time,
understand that.
He didn't really care for it either. It's I didn't want to watch it in the living room because they would just make fun of it. And they would watch it, but then they would laugh at it, and it's just you're taking me out of where I want to be. I would rather watch this myself where I can enjoy it as opposed to having you guys criticize this. It's annoying now. So growing up with it, it was just I'm either talking to people at school with it, or I'm watching it by myself because I can't enjoy it with my family. So there was a lot. So now that I think about it, you're very crafty. Now that I think about it, the things that I really did enjoy the most when I was growing up, I really couldn't share that with my family like that because hip hop had its barriers in regards to the language and whatnot. So my grandfather wasn't a fan of it. My mom wasn't a fan of it. And then with wrestling, it's well, the thing that is would be somewhat okay, they just don't understand that or they make fun of that. And then and then when it comes to comics or anime, it's animated. So adults aren't going to watch animated type things, like not on their own accord. Like if you're a child, perhaps they'll put it on for you. But at that time, it wasn't a thing. Like they weren't really necessarily making cartoons for adults then. Now they do. Now it's just it's everywhere, and you can have like an Adult Swim, or you can even have like a MCU movie that has adult like real life adult experiences. It's not just this campy like this will never happen to anyone. They actually put real scenarios in there to make you decide what type of person you would be or what you would do if you were in that scenario.
Yeah. Yep,
that could happen to you like on Wednesday. So, the things that I had that I really took to, I wasn't really, it wasn't fully embraced. It's not until you get a little bit older and then you tell them like this isn't changing that sometimes their lens changes and they're like, oh, okay. Like, so this is consistent with you. And then they try to, it's like they try, but they don't really fully embrace it. Like you have to, again, you really have to transform into who you are, and then the people around you will embrace you for that. So
you got it, honey.
yeah.
There you go. It's like you got it. That's it. That was perfect. I'm not crafty. I just
you are crafty. You made me think about my childhood and like whether or not like the things that I loved was embraced or not. And then I was like, man, I really couldn't bond with my family over the stuff that I really loved like that. Not until I was older, and that was like hip hop being the main thing, I guess, and that hip hop or spoken word or things like that, and then that leading over to like my brother. But yeah, you are crafty.
But why? Thank you. We're going back to social and familial acculturation or expectations, because our families, God love them, they all went through the same thing that we did, right? Our parents and their parents, everyone went through a point in their life where they wanted to figure out who they were, what they loved the most, what they wanted to embrace the most. When rock and roll came out, it was devil's work. Remember?
Right. Everything that wasn't gospel was the devil's work or the devil's music.
That's right. And then, but what happened? It sparked the revolution. A musical, a literary, and truly a cultural revolution. And it wasn't a bad revolution. It was a revealing and a fluid and a socially moving revolution. So, I think hip hop, I don't think, actually, I know hip hop had the same type of movement. I wrote an article a year and a half ago because I did a piece on the 40th anniversary of the birth of hip hop, which a lot of people don't know the story, because we were watching a series called the Get Out, right?
Okay.
On Netflix. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
Yeah, that show was great. I know a lot of people were disappointed it was canceled.
I was completely one of those. I'm very upset. Well, look at that. Did you think I was going to know that? And I don't say that lightly, because I don't look like someone like who would probably identify with that, but yet look, I do, right? So based on that, I actually wrote this article because it got me mad. I would watch the show and I would look at it and go, that's my life, man. I was there when that happened. I remember reading about this when this happened. Oh man, I remember when that song came out. And
yeah,
it made me have huge flashbacks to watching a TV and seeing the news and going, oh my God, I actually remember when that happened. And because I was actually in Manhattan at the time, so we got the opportunity to see live challenges and stuff. And like, I thank my family for allowing me or to bringing me to places where we were openly able to experience these things. It was crazy. So watching the Get Out actually helped me to look back at my life and go, man, I really got an opportunity to see things I probably normally kids would never have gotten a chance to experience, because I was the youngest in my family, so there's a lot of older people. So it made it easier for me. So, but this is where looking at a show, a series, being part of a fandom like Diverse Word, being part of loving literature, a writer, etc., or art of some kind, or
Yeah.
architecture, for goodness sakes, or science, or NASA. I mean, come on, something that connects you to a part of yourself that you had dormant, that's laid
Mm.
still for so long, and then you just like connect to it. I'm going to go back to Goku and Dragon Ball Z with you for a moment.
Oh man, how much time you got? I don't know if how long our listeners want to be tuned into this episode. I can go all day.
Don't worry, we got the time. I was the Dragon Ball Z mom who taped every single episode,
Yeah.
every single animation figure that came out. Took the kids got every poster when it first came out.
Man, I don't blame you. You have good taste.
Yeah, because my kid loved it and it made a huge difference in his life. So for me, it made sense to me to support that. So, you understand where I'm going with the questioning then. Dragon Ball Z was, I'm going to go back to it, revolutionary in terms of self-identity and conflict resolution. Do you agree with that statement?
Do I feel like it's going back to that now, or just the show at that time?
No, even when it first started. I felt like we had a lot of looking and understanding who we were in that show, because Goku didn't have any concept. Took him forever. Took his relationships for him to get to a place where he understood it, and even so, it still took forever. And the conflicts and how to resolve a conflict for a greater good. So, did you see it in that way? I'm curious.
It's funny. Like until you finalize your question, I literally had a flashback just now of the scene where they're on planet Namek, Goku and Vegeta is, and at this time they're rivals, of course. Mm-hmm. And Vegeta's like on his deathbed and he's crying and he's like basically telling Goku about what it was like growing up under Frieza's rule. Yeah. And have him working for him as a child. I'm sorry, my phone just fell on my lip. It's okay.
That's an important.
But he's explaining. but he's on his deathbed and he's crying and he's telling him Vegeta's so prideful, and it's almost like you can identify. I think you can identify the Saiyan race to me as having parallels with the African race, and how they were, Frieza had this rule over them, and then he worked them to the bone, and then when he was done with them, he destroyed the planet. So they're while of course there are plenty of Black people and plenty of African Americans and just African descent all over the entire world. Just the idea of Goku was considered quote unquote low class. He was never going to be anybody. Mm-hmm. They sent him away to a planet, and then you have Vegeta that's the prince of all Saiyans. So he has this sense of pride in who he is, and it mirrors the pride of Black people. That's like, I'm a prince, like I'm the king. I know that I'm greatness. And then you have this one guy that was sent away, being Goku. He doesn't know anything about his heritage. He doesn't have that sense of pride because he was sent away from home as a child. All he knows is from where he grew up. He has no idea the greatness in his lineage. So when Vegeta is shedding these tears and telling him about himself and telling him about where he comes from and how he has to become this legend, in order to beat him, I'm like, man, that type of story right there, if that's not enough to inspire you, I don't know what it is. Like at the time as a child, I don't think that I identified it that way, but as an adult watching it again, there's so many parallels because Goku finally does become who he needs to become to beat this this tyrant, you know, and you know, we can't go back like as black people and like confront our slave master. There's no top white person to be like, you're gonna answer for all the sins. Like that was a collective thing. But for Goku, he was able to avenge his people, but it's not even like he identified with his people for all his life. He grew into that, and then he, with that knowledge, and then with the loss of his friend, he was able to transform into this thing, into the hero that he needed to be. And for me, he has the people love Vegeta, and I got a love for Vegeta too. But for me, Goku's story to me is, as it constantly evolves and as Dragon Ball Super is growing, he is the living he's the living epitome of when life gets hard, you transform so you're stronger than that space in life. Every time his back is against the wall, he transforms to the next level, to where that level in life is no longer a challenge to him. He rises to it every time. And that's what I identified the most with, because there's always this different stages in life that are going to be challenging. You might go through a job loss. You might go through, you know, heartbreaks or breakups. You know, you feel like you lost everything, and then you have a decision. You can either let that thing destroy you and beat you up, or you can rise above it and you can rise to the occasion and transform to where that thing, it pales in comparison to who you are, because of how great you are, your desire to win, your desire to go beyond where you are. We have our goals with, you know, different homes or, you know, career. You can find the Goku within you in all of these scenarios. I promise. I live by that. That's like, he's my favorite hero, because, and no matter what, he always finds a way to rise above, and that's why he's the greatest for me. It's like that's why he's the greatest. So yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So, wow. I love just listening to you. Oftentimes I speak way too much on this show, so I'm loving just having these. Oh, it's like a breath of fresh air. It's so beautiful. I sent you a picture to look at.
Okay.
While you were talking, I was looking at the painting that's on my wall, and you'll understand it as soon as you see it. I just sent it to you, so you'll be like, "Oh, that woman."
Yeah.
Because
Awesome.
that painting, I'm pretty sure, is a representation of what you were describing. Pretty sure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, the best. So this is people can't see this, but this is Goku and he's Super Saiyan Blue. Yeah, it's crazy. The pinnacle to me right now, if anybody is caught up on Dragon Ball Super, is when he goes Ultra Instinct. And you know, even like the gods are like standing up out of respect for this mortal being that has reached this level that's hard for even for them to attain. And it's just like, it's just always inspiring. It's just, you can't help but be caught up and mesmerized. Like, man, how could you not want to do better at the thing that you love, whatever that is, whether it's writing, whether it's creating, whether it's at your profession. When you were considered at one point low class, now the like the highest deities in all the universe are looking at you in reverence or in awe. That's like, man, forget about it. That's just sign me off. Sign me off.
I know. I have to always stop myself when I say that. I know we all have the potential to attain, to become that.
Yeah.
That's the value of loving something so passionately, like a fandom, like your passion for Goku, but just in general for Dragon Ball Z, and why a lot of parents didn't understand how I supported it as much as I did. Not that they said anything, but why I was that mom, because I understood who he was and what, and he wasn't always a good kid. He didn't always do the right thing, and he didn't a lot of times treat people well.
Mm-hmm.
But it was such a strong learning. It was such a strong transition. And when I say that Dragon Ball Z 20 years ago was, well, not 20 yet, but going there, was teaching a child how to grow, how to
Mm-hmm.
mature, how to nurture their selves. And it did that. I,
Yeah.
I felt it did, and I think you're an example of that because you're living that and you're
Yeah.
using the example, right? Hmm. Yeah, I make people think a lot on this show. It is
No,
not.
absolutely. He did definitely like I joke about it with people, but really when I tell people like my list of heroes, like I have Goku on there as if like he's a living like if he's actually walked this earth and like he's about as real to me as MLK and Jay-Z and Colin Kaepernick and and my dad and The Rock. You know, that's like Goku to me is just as inspiring as those people. You know, which is a testament to the writers and
I
the
was about
creators.
to say that's so in the penultimate version of this, it is the writers and the animators. The animators, good God, man, what they were able to achieve. I used to marvel at something like this, where I would look at a painting, a piece of artwork, but especially where it captures the fandom in this way, and look at it and go, it's breathing, it's existing in this moment, you know. You know what I'm saying? um
Yeah.
and I can feel the emotion from that moment because I understood what that moment meant to me or meant to my child. Yeah. uh,
Yeah.
yeah, so you're not, please don't ever let anyone tell you you'd be wrong to put a character who has changed your life at this level, literally helped you to transform into the person you are today. Please, definitely
Yeah.
give accolades and credence to that character. That's absolutely appropriate. It's kind of like saying with C.S. Lewis and the Narnia stories, or Tolkien and Lord of the Rings, you know,
Mm.
a story that changes your life, because it does. It's just, how does it change your life? It's because it helps you to transform who you are. Do you think,
Yeah.
and then diverse word is literally you taking the love of the writing and that transformation from your fandom passions, especially from Dragon Ball Z, and you doing it yourself for someone else.
Yeah. I mean, I think the beauty about being an artist is we get to convey things that people don't know how to communicate or articulate for themselves. So I mean, that's why you have like arenas that are packed full of people because, that somebody you're eliciting an emotion that somebody else feels, but they don't know how to express. And then
Mm-hmm.
also as an artist, if you're being true to the form and you're being pure in it, like everyone goes through pain, but an artist, I feel like is more so designed to go through that pain so that you know, uh, they can help the next person. I mean, even beyond being an artist, I genuinely believe that we all go through things to help people get through things. Um,
That's correct.
and and so it's never just about us. We might be going through a hardship or something like that, but it's, once we get through it, it's to make that process easier for the next person and to know that they're not the only one that has experienced it or will experience it.
Yeah.
And as an artist, it's just I think it's our job. Like we have a right, it's it's our calling to be able to talk about those painful experiences so that we can help people and they know, like they don't just have to read about stories. They need to be able to identify and see somebody else in that story that's walking the earth now and not in ancient scripture. Ancient scripture does help. I love it. It's a part of who I am. It'll never change. But it's something different about reading it in a book and then talking to somebody that's living it right now and
Mm-hmm.
that has lived it within this lifetime. It's completely necessary. And yeah, I love to be able to relate and to share my life experiences and then that be able to help someone because that's the whole point I feel like of my existence. For me, it's inspiring people to be better versions of themselves. You know what I'm saying? And you can't help somebody if you're not transparent. They can't look at themselves and be self-reflective if you are so guarded or so cut off that it doesn't force them to look at themselves, because you're only showing them like a small snippet of who you are. And
right, exactly.
And your artistry, you have to be raw and open and vulnerable, so people can be like, wow, if they got through that, then that means that I can also, you know.
And quite unabashedly. And this is what I think, I'm believing very strongly about even the show that we're doing today. One of the reasons I don't tell you exactly what we're going to do is because we need to be able to reveal to each other, right? Pieces of ourselves that we probably haven't identified quite yet, or things that we're willing to explore understanding about ourselves. And it's because when you have an organic conversation, have you not noticed that it does that, right? It sparks something.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And, well, the thing is I think that people go through the world scripted.
You ain't lying.
Mm-hmm.
You ain't lying. It's so funny. They make fun of wrestling, but it's like you reading this script, you don't even really feel this way, but you putting on this front so that you putting on this front for everybody else.
And it's sad, because you want to nurture those people to start feeling comfortable about something, because everybody wants to be able to express it. They just think that they're not supposed to express it, because again, we're going to go back. It's social and cultural assumptions and mores, things that tell us, hey, you're supposed to be this person, therefore I am that person. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, and that's why, the body of work that you do in Diverse Word is quite transformational, because I sit and I watch the entire crowd. Believe it or not, I of course listen to the person speaking, because that's very important to me. But I tend to watch the crowd. I tend to watch their faces and their actions and their reactions, because I love to see how something is affecting the other person. It's hopeful for me. Does that make sense?
Right. No, of course.
Yeah, I love that sense of hope that comes with experiencing someone else's joy, because then it helps to feed my own joy. Yeah. So I think that's what Diverse Word is giving people. That's why I'm so excited and hoping that we can actually get you guys to do that show, that live stream.
Yeah,
show.
I'll talk to Sean, because I mean, again, he's the creator, and he has way more insight as to how he was inspired to create the night, and he'll be able to give you way more than I can. I happen to be the brother that supports the journey and supports the vision, because it's necessary. Everybody needs that outlet, even if I may not need it for all of my time. People always need that way to express themselves and find themselves. As I was able to get comfortable in me performing as an artist, I was able to get comfortable there. And then I grew, and then I'm like, okay, let me try this somewhere else to see if I'm as good, or as I think I am, or if I'm as good to good to other audiences. So yeah.
What are your professional goals then? Because I kind of know some of what you're doing, but I don't do you perform routinely? And you work otherwise than that as well, right?
Yeah, I do have a regular 9 to 5. I have to be able to continue to pay my mortgage and such.
I know that one.
But yeah, professionally, so I feel like my goals are always, I can't say that they're always changing, but if I can, well, obviously, and just being honest, I love to help people. How I do that, to me, is it always leaves room to grow and to change. The constant for me is me using my life experiences in order to help people, which goes into me like performing or doing. I haven't done any motivational speaking yet, but there's a part in that, and where I use some of my works, some of my songs, or some of my pieces to motivate people. So professionally, I would love to be able to do that full time and then be paid from it. I stepped away from performing more consistently, only because it was some years ago, because I wasn't creating at the rate that I felt that I needed to be, and I kept regurgitating the same pieces. So for me, I was getting tired of performing them, and so because of how I felt then, I'm like, well, if I'm tired of performing this, then people must be tired of hearing it, and I don't want to just be on stage in vain, for the sake of being on stage, to hear myself speak, to stroke my own ego, or to make me feel good, and no one else is really benefiting from this. So I'm going to step away. And I had, I had to have like my come to Jesus moments with, like, God was my source of inspiration for the lot of things that I created. So when I feel like that inspiration is cut off, now I have a problem with God, because I'm like, you gave me this gift and I want to continue to use it, and then now you cut off the supply line. So what am I supposed to do? So, it's I didn't choose this gift. Like, you gave it to me and then you took it away. Like, what is that about? But that's a whole other episode that we can get into. Long story short, I found my fiance, and she reignited the passion in me to go perform again. And when I posted the video randomly, someone else shared it, and then someone else reached out to me. That led to the gig that I had this past Sunday at the Orange County Library. And which just goes to show, of course, for anybody listening out there, any single men or whatever, they do say he finds a wife finds a good thing. And, she definitely helped me with piecing parts of me back together so I can continue to do what I love. And I know that eventually that's going to help me generate income. So I definitely want to perform and get paid, and that will be my professional goal, as well as, doing some acting and all things creative. If it's teaching someone, inspiring someone, motivating someone to be better, and doing it in a creative fashion, then I'm all for that. And I think that's a win, and that's what I would like to do.
We that's just okay. I'm just enjoying just sitting here listening to you. I just feel like okay, this is so good. I couldn't have really, it's just everyone comes on here and gives pieces of the puzzle to what it is that I'm hoping to achieve through the company. And you help to fuel the language and the support system that we're trying to provide for everyone. Because the whole purpose for My Geek Universe is exactly what you wanted anyway. It was about creating something so when fans, creators, artists out there need a support system, that they have someone's journey that they can reflect on, someone's journey that they can say, okay, they love this thing that they're passionate about, I'm passionate about. So that's okay then, something to help them feel supported and unified. You know what I mean? And that's a lot of what My Geek Universe is about, because I mean, you already know how tremendously I feel about everything. So thank you. I really appreciate everything that you've given us today. I would love, maybe not this time, but that you would, if you'd be willing to do a piece for us, because I would love to have you as a featured musical guest. We have some great folks out there. Maybe we could put a jam session together. Yes.
No, of course. I mean, we could do one now, or we could do one at another time.
Oh, whenever you want to. I grew up with music, so I grew up as a writer. I studied writing, and I actually studied music. So I was a singer for a very long time. I studied it all the way through college, and then went into medicine. Woohoo!
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I think that's awesome that you're able to, again, like I said, that as an artist, we go through things, help people go through things, and you know, because you are helping somebody heal that doesn't know how to identify even like what the issue is. And so you helping them, you live that part of your life in that aspect, healing in that way, and then now you just moved over to medicine. It's just, there's a line that Jay-Z has. He says, "Ain't nothing wrong about aim, just got to change the target." So the goal is still the same. It's just you're just doing it in a different way. So I think that that's great.
That is beautiful. You gotta please send me that because I will literally do something with that. I adore that because Arjun is our one of our consulting artists for Diversely Geek. So he does. Oh yeah, he does our positive imagery. So he and I and my daughter, who's our communications director, we create very strong positive imaging that's supportive. So you should really get in and see what we're doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll check.
There's so much. We have so much to come, so much to share. Okay.
So much content, so many things moving, and it's all great. But go ahead. Sorry, I'm not gonna cut you off.
No. You kind of like put my head in a place where I have things that I'm thinking of. So no, if you have a piece that you'd like to do now, I'm happy. I mean, it would be an acapella,
sure.
But please.
Sure, of course.
Please,
That's typically how I do my. That's typically how I do my stuff. So, and the first one that comes to mind, I'll do one that I did this past Sunday. It's called Gotta Believe, and yeah, I'll just let it speak for itself. So, started rapping when I was 15, maybe 16. Never thought I would ever grow older, caught in this thing. 23 years old, struggling, sending out resumes. Let's just say, hoping tomorrow's better than yesterday. It already is, because I woke up feeling blessed today. One day I'm going to be walking in this world making extra cake. Being fly all the time instead of walking levitate. Didn't believe it at first. It took a while to resonate. Now every time I succeed, it's a must-see, because the look on their faces is usually crusty, like somebody walked into the building smelling musty, but luckily it's not up to them, because God is my trustee. They try to give me the bench, but now I sit in plush seats. Won't let a mere mortal take away from me what's for me. Don't listen to them, only listen to what's above me. No, I'm not a vegan, but I don't know what's beef. Keep my nose out of others' business and just mind my own. Everybody got their own path. Let me find my own. Not a commonly used instrument. Call me xylophone. Diligence and persistence is the scent of my cologne. Humility is my clothing. Pride is the ride I own. My soul will still echo to many without a microphone. That's why I say keep pushing. Don't matter what side you on. Just choose wisely and sit back while I ride the song. Don't ever let nobody tell you you can't do it. Just prove them wrong. Formulate a plan and hop to it. There'll always be haters. That's the way it is. Hating men will sleep with hating women and have hating kids. That's word to Kanye. Don't get discouraged. Their stock is the one that'll plummet. They smile in your face, turn around, disrespect you in public. They say you suck at first. They come back and they say they love it. Believe in yourself and you'll hold a title that they covet. When I was growing up, I knew I wanted to help. Can't do it all, though. You got to learn to help yourself. They say my words are uplifting like a young preacher. Couldn't help myself. Now I motivate motivational speakers. MC.
Woo! Oh my God! I was trying to take it all in. It's so good. Oh, phraseology is everything, man. Jeez.
What was that? What was that word you used?
Phraseology. I create words all the time.
Phraseology. Got it. I was like, I don't know that I know what she's talking about, but okay.
Phraseology, the study of phrasing. I created it.
Well, wonderful. I'm sure you might want to coin that. You might want to trademark it.
I do it all the time, right? I'm like, I better go start doing like trademarking. I'm always coming up with words. That was incredible. Wow. Do you normally do your own DJing behind it, or what do you do?
No, I'm not I imagine you mean like producing, but no. I'm very particular when it comes to production, because I have a sound that I like. And at the time when I was trying to, put out an album or a mixtape, I couldn't really afford the production that I wanted, or like the studio time and things like that. So I really love like iconic sounds like Just Blaze, like his style of producing, or like a Kanye West. I really love horns and things like that. So a lot of the things that I create, if I'm gonna ever talk about like a space of despair or like a pitfall, I want to always have something. I always turn back up to where you overcome that, or you triumph, or you rise in that. And yeah, I'm just, a lot of the producers that I've been around haven't really been able to match that for me. So I just have to make a decision at some point whether or not I'm going to use the beats that I don't really love in order to, get that message across. And then at some point, we'll end up meeting, like, whoever this mystery producer is that's going to match, that's going to be what I need them to be. It's kind of like, finding a barber, and like, people can cut hair, but can they cut your hair the way you need it to get cut? Or you as a woman, like, there's hairstylists all over the world, but it's like, you need somebody to do your hair the way that you need it to be done. And then once you find that person, you're like, okay, now it's like, you're my hairstylist. If you find that match, that's what I need as far as the producer. I need that. So I haven't found them yet, but I'm sure they're out there somewhere.
Yeah, there are two sides of the soulmate. For every, right? Every musician, there's a Simon for a Garfunkel.
Mm-hmm.
It's the big
every Michael Jackson is a Quincy Jones.
There's a Quincy Jones. There has to be. There's someone who understands what your intention is.
Yeah.
That's
absolutely.
That's, I think, the biggest part with music or with art in any shape or form, is that you find that person who supports you. That's great, but the person who understands your intentions and connects to that, that's everything. So you'll find that person. It'll happen. It will happen.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much.
Okay, so this has been so good. This has been such a fun and just such a fluid and just such so much movement. I love it. So again, as we wrap up, why don't you go ahead one more time and give everyone your social media sites, how to find you, and if anyone's interested in booking you for anything, what kind of work you do, that they can, or how they can contact you for that.
Absolutely, of course. Thank you so much. So I am an artist. I do host, and I am a public speaker. So if you need any of those services, you can reach out to me on my Instagram. It's at Mr.Mckinnon. That's Mr.McKinnon. For bookings, you can email me at mrmckinnonwins@gmail.com. My slogan is Mr. McKinnon, I'm always winning. It's not a slogan, it's a lifestyle, actually. So you can reach out to me there on Facebook, on my artist page, also Mr. McKinnon. And that's how you can reach out to me. So you get all your booking information and things like that there. So if you're ever interested in needing a host for like a party or a special event in regards to, I've done benefit things for multiple myeloma cancer. I've hosted open mics. I've hosted several different events. So if there's anything in that realm that you need me for, I am here at your service. And if you need a verse for something, hit me up also, and then let's see if we can collaborate and work together.
I think we should work on doing a very large event, like where we really pull diverse word in together and everything. My brain is just formulating. You'll learn about me, Arjun. My brain thinks in a way that's pretty expansive, and I see things. You know how we picture when we write, and then the writing becomes the thing that manifests from the picture. That's how my brain is.
Got it. I definitely understand. I'm so glad that memes have like taken over. I mean, I know memes are considered like they've aged quickly in this era, but when memes started to pop, I was so happy for it, because I always, like, when I thought about jokes, I would think in pictures, and I'm like, I wish they could see what I'm seeing, because I'm not going to convey it the best way. So I definitely understand. I definitely think in pictures at times, and then so I understand where you're coming from. Trust me.
I figured, because on average, that's an artist, and you can't create poetry without having a visual imagery. It's impossible.
Yeah.
because they're
Right.
indelible to each other. So I am so extremely honored to have had you on tonight, Curtis. I'm so happy it finally happened, and that we should be hopefully working on some other projects coming up. Definitely offer you the space that Diversely Geek has for you to be able to get your message out, to get your artistry out and your work out. That's what we're here for. We're here to support great people and great messages like yours. So, and you perfectly exemplify transforming fandom passion into positive action. You are the example of that. So I'm so extremely happy to have had you on. And as we wrap up, folks, this is Neisha M, your geek mom, Neisha T Mulchan, coming to you from Diversely Geek. So excited to have had you all with us for another week. And oh my God, wasn't he amazing? So I love all of you, and you know how to find us. Diverselygeek.org is our website, and you can find us on all social media sites. You will be able to hear this show on Stitcher, iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Alexa, and you can find our Doctor Who and review episodes on iHeartRadio, and we will be moving over to our own channel soon, our own radio channel, so that's going to be awesome. And I want everyone to have a blessed, happy, joyous, and reflective week. Much love to all of you. Good night from DG.